because people call it over there mainland China. And they told me like there's something like about 70 dialects of Chinese in mainland China, and something like 40 or 50 different main cultures within the country. So what I'm going to give you is sort of like what I think would be useful for you, for your practice, and when you meet anybody from any part of China that can help you to blend in what I already said about that first visit when you see them for the first time, to the ongoing work and some of the feelings that they would be having. Now, when person dies in China, the cleaning of the body is very important, and this is very universal. You know, ritual of the body, cleaning, dressing the body, the cloth. Like in America, when somebody dies, they're dressed up. Well, in most of the countries around the world, they don't do that. Like in Ireland, we just wear a cloth, and there's no pockets, and it's sort of like you come in with nothing, you go out with nothing. Kind of like. So, and usually the box you put into is made to decompose very quick, as quick as possible. Here, those are very similar, because the same lot is dug off every time to put the body into the same place. Yeah. So there is like the bones, you find the bones, you put the bones to the side, you put the dirt to the side, you put the body in. If it's cremation, there is like the ashes are poured like into the ground and covered, and there is like a monument in stone that's made.
Excuse me. Can you back up to what you just said about burying the body in a box, and then what? It's taken out. It decomposes.
Well, in other parts of the world, the body is put into more of a cardboard box, so it can decompose very quickly. You know, because it's the same place where the same body goes into, and all the bones then come together. Grandparents, all the generations' bones finally are in the same place. It's like
so there's no space for the body that's just for that former person.
No,
Just gets reused.
Some of that is changing as people are getting wealthier. They're wanting to buy their own spot, sort of like America. That, you know.
Just want to make sure I
Yes.
correctly.
So the bones in many cultures, the bones are very important. The bones of the ancestors mixed in would eventually, when the flesh is decomposed, to mix in with the bones of the ancestors, and they're all put together. You know, that. So the bones are like the carrier of your, the carrier of like who you are for the afterlife, you know, in that way. Sometimes if the husband or wife, this is in China, dies first, they keep the body, they won't bury it until the other spouse dies, and they put them both in the ground together, or they will be cremated together, and the ashes comes out in one. What is different about the Chinese from, you'll see the Chinese very much will express their grief in public and at home. And there is, at home there is, and outside, there is, there's people that are hired to help the people to cry more. They're, I don't remember the name of what it's called. And these are people that are hired, so 3 or 4, they're men and women that practice this to get this howling and weeping to get people crying. it, because it's like sneezing. One cry, the next cry,
Right.
and then
Yes,
children,
yes, yes, yes,
and
yes.
it kind of flows across.
Right,
Yes,
right,
it's,
right.
it's a very, yeah. It's also a little bit, don't know if this is correct or not, but it's also a little bit status. The more people you have crying, the more, important you are. And the family wants to have their father or mother to be important, so they have and cry in both places. So when they come to your office, please don't ask like, did you cry or did you this? Just say things like, how was that for you? So you avoid feeling words like, how did you feel? It's too personal. More like, how was it for you? What's happening in China now, because it's becoming very industrial, many young people are leaving the land and going into the cities, and there's less and less people to do these, taking care of the elderly. So there is a high rate of suicide in elderly in China, as well a high rate in the 20-year-olds that can't find jobs and can't make their $1 million overnight, So this suicide is a concern. So when we went there, they were very wanted to know, like, how can we take care of the elderly? What do we need to do? What their needs are, and et cetera, et cetera. And so in Beijing, they had psychology department. They had a lot of people from Europe and South America who were there teaching cognitive therapy, like Jungian psychoanalysis. All of this was just like you might see downtown San Francisco. And they're teaching it in different languages, in Spanish, in Russian, in American English, all of that. What is very fascinating is people want to know what we do here. Because here is sort of like the culture carrier. This is the culture carrier of psychotherapy and mental health. This is it. People come here from Australia, from England, and they come here because it's like, this is the place. This is where the books are written. This is what the DSM is. However, mental health is not private or confidential in China. If they go see a mental health person, it will go on their records. And the chances are it will affect their promotion. So when they come to see you here, this confidentiality, that you say how it is very important. This is confidential. And for it to go, this is what happens. But if you say, it said to this, this, and this, if you tell me that you beat your children, and you tell me that you do this to your children, I will need to report that. It's very important to be just sort of say what the rules are like that. And they really appreciate it. But it's when they tell you and you don't tell them, they accept. That child, then like we really betrayed them.
So explaining the limits of confidentiality is very important.
Go from line to line. Yes, take your time. That just could be the first session. Just that form. Can be. And so why do it? Because it's that first connection is so important. We used to have a saying in Ireland, if you hang around for 1 year, then maybe I will invite you. If you hang around for 1 year, maybe I'll say hello. Something like that, I mean, like, that's a long therapy session.
Right.
How many hours? You could get all your 3,000 hours really quick that way, couldn't you? So,
but it gets to the heart of what trust is.
Exactly, yes.
Important.
Yes. So, saying trust and connection, all words don't mean nothing. It's going to be the way you act. It's the way you sit. It's the way your shoes match. It's the way, you dress. And now, this may not sound right, but I need to tell you. For a woman, really has to dress professionally. it's because many Asians complain that they take their wife, going for couples, and they don't come back because the wife is very uncomfortable with the way the therapist, female therapist, is dressed. She is showing too much of her body. And it is, and he is like looking down. He's embarrassed with his wife or don't want to feel like he's betraying her, just kind of shocked. You follow? So this, so when I went back to Japan a few years ago, the train was equally full of men and women going to work. When I was there 15 years ago, it was mostly men. But you saw the way women and men were dressed. This profession, completely different from the way professional dresses here. It's, you know they're going to work. They're not going out on a date. They're not going to a nightclub. And that's what makes it so difficult for Asian in that. Because they don't want their spouse to be triggered in, or whatever it is. The discomfort is awful. So many times they are more inclined to go to see a man because they know the way somehow it's less threatening. Visiting the grave is very important. Visiting the grave. So 49 days after death, for many, for Chinese and Japanese, 49 days. There is, in some parts of China, there's a thing called the 7 deaths. After 7 days, 14 days, 28 days, they will visit the grave. And this is usually like, regardless of what religion it is, that the old custom ways comes to life. The 49th day is the 7th death, it's the last death. It's like now they're out, they're gone. You have helped them, you have the spirit to leave.